Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. I wanted to make a quick video when I saw this picture that I also used in the thumbnail for this video, and I guess you can see it on the screen right now. It is a picture taken of the newly elected Social Democratic faction in the German Bundestag, or federal parliament. They took this photo on the stairs in the parliament building, I assume. And what you can see here on the picture are more than 200 people. So when you look at this photograph, is there anything that comes to your attention, anything that looks special about a picture like that? Well, 2 years ago, I would say probably not, pretty normal, except for that one clown there on the right. But now one has to say, wait a second, they are actually touching each other on the shoulders or something. They're standing really narrow, a large crowd of people, indoors also, and nobody is wearing a mask except for that one pathetic clown on the right. And this is not a leaked photograph or anything. I mean, this is an official photograph, and they posted this on Twitter and they made this photo public, and they are not apologizing. Of course, people ask the question right away, hey, wait a second. All the people out there in every supermarket, in every building, children at school, people at the workplace, everybody has to wear these ridiculous masks, and you guys are just taking a 200 people group picture and nobody, except for that one pathetic clown on the right, is wearing a mask. But this is typical for the Social Democratic Party of Germany. They are spitting in the faces of the German people, of the German workers. This is what they did when they were in power in the late 90s and the early 2000s, and this has been their position ever since. If you ask them why the workers don't vote for them anymore, they say, oh, I don't know what the problem is that these people have. How can anybody have problems? I mean, there is enough money, we have big houses, we have big cars and drivers. Oh, and we don't get gas ourselves, by the way. I don't know how anybody can dislike this country. That is the Social Democrats. They are so far removed from the German workers or even the middle class, it is absolutely ridiculous. So they don't find anything wrong with that. They find it absolutely natural that the rules that are supposed to be kept by everybody in Germany don't apply to them. And make no mistake, the official rules in the Reichstag's building say that people must wear masks unless there is, and this is the usual, right? This is the same as in most places, unless there is 1.5 meters distance, or you're sitting on your personal desk or something like that, right? So what you can see on this picture is clearly against the rules, and people would be reprimanded at the workplace, and if they repeated that behavior, they would be fired as a German worker. But these people, they don't even admit that there is a problem. It doesn't even occur to them. It doesn't even register in their little brains that people who are harassed with this stuff for 1.5 years right now might find that a little hypocritical and a slap in the face. But then it is probably best to ask their expert on these questions, and that is Mr. Lauterbach, the pathetic little clown on the right, who is the only person on this picture who is wearing a mask. Mr. Lauterbach is the medical expert of the Social Democrats. He also goes under the name of Tooth Fairy, I guess, in certain circles. And in the last year, he has been on 3 talk shows, political TV shows a day on average, I think. He always calls for stricter punishments and for stricter regulations and measures all the time, and it is never enough for him. He even posts selfies with a friend of his, I assume, by the way they look here. The other guy is Mr. Drosten. He is maybe the Fauci of Germany. He's a virologist who is used by the government in order to scientifically legitimize all this nonsense that they're doing. Of course, there are plenty of other virologists who see these things differently, but he has been made the official voice of science when it comes to this pandemic by the German government, and what he says is law, and every other virologist or doctor or scientist who has a different opinion, well, they're not real experts because the government doesn't say so. Only Mr. Drosten Osten is the real expert because he works with the government. Isn't that convenient? And that is exactly how science is supposed to work. Everybody knows that, of course. And so does Mr. Lauterbach, the tooth fairy. He probably thinks if he wears a mask, then other people cannot smell what comes out of his mouth, but let me tell you, that's not true. If people wear a mask and they you can still smell that, okay? And here, once again, with caramba, he says that we are younger and more diverse, and we're the new faction of the Social Democratic Party, and also more Eastern German. Very nice. So what did the little pathetic clown on the right even say? What did the tooth fairy say? Well, he is the only one who was wearing a mask, so wouldn't it be then at least comprehensible if he criticized his colleagues? And he said no, that he was wearing a mask. It was more like a fashion statement, right? And his colleagues did nothing wrong because they're all vaxxed or they're tested or whatever, so that's fine. But, the thing is that the rules that are valid or that are to be kept in the Reichstag and in all other workplaces and schools and public buildings and indoors and whatnot, they don't really, specify that point. Everybody has to wear the mask. They cannot say, at the workplace, for example, you cannot say, hey, I'm vaccinated, I don't need to wear the mask. No, that's not true. You will be reprimanded, you will be fired, no matter if you had the virus and are recovered, or if you are vaccinated, or if you're tested. It doesn't even matter. You have to wear the mask, period. So it is quite interesting that this guy, who is even wearing a mask on this picture and who spent the last year or even more to always call for stricter and stricter regulations and more punishments and more surveillance of these people who are denying to follow the rules, that he is saying now that his colleagues didn't do anything wrong. So what is the conclusion that we can draw from that? Well, it's pretty clear, in my opinion at least. The conclusion must be that they think the general rules shouldn't apply to them, rules for thee but not for me or not for us. They think that they are some sort of avant-garde, some kind of ruling class, some kind of higher up elite, and the rules that are made for the peasants, for the slaves, for the serfs, they are obviously not valid and binding for them. That is what's going on in Germany, and I'm well aware that we have seen these similar pictures and similar stories coming out of the US and the UK, and wherever you look, really, it is always these progressives, these woke people, these social democrats, these Green Party people, these leftists who are doing that stuff. They are hypocrites, and not just in Germany, not just in the US, it's really global. Yes, they're globalists. Surprise. Of course, it looks very similar in every Western country because these people are globalists. They want a one world government and they want a political elite that never has to work, that is not accountable for their actions and failures, and that just they can just siphon off tax money of honest workers and have a great pleasant life without ever working. That is what they want, and this is what they, to a great deal, actually have realized already. Alright, so now you have another data point from Germany in case you still wanted or needed one in this greater narrative here. Thanks for making it unto the end. A special thank you goes out to all my supporters and my subscribers. Like, share and subscribe, of course, if you want more stories like this coming from Germany. Well, of course, I don't want more stories like that coming from Germany, but if you want me to report about it or to tell you about it, that's what I meant, obviously. Check me out on other social media platforms, and if you want to, you can support me via Patreon or Subscribestar. Links are in the descriptions down below. Servus, Kameraden.